Welcome back to another Access video. So in this I want to look at input masks. So the first thing I want to point out is that you can see that Netflix, that is 7 letters long. So we have, and then Disney is 6, and then space is 7, and then another 4 is 11 letters long. Okay, so that's going to be useful for what we're about to do, and that is the input mask. So basically you can access the input mask by pressing this button, and also you can press this button. And you can see if we try and do it on, for instance, on this number, we get an error there. Input mask only works with text or date field types. Okay, but like I said, we're going to do the service anyway. All right, so we've got 11 letters, right? And what we need to be careful of, though, is that Netflix, for instance, is 7 letters, Disney is 6. So that 7th letter, that has to be either a space or a letter. All right, so let's look at what we could do with the input mask then. So you can actually choose one, like you can see we've got a bunch of letters. So this is pretty close to what we want, right? So we'll go to that one. And you can see it says LL. Now, what does these all these different characters in input mask mean different things? So L means requires a letter, right? Now, the greater than sign, that means we're going to be converting any of the following characters to uppercase. So we do want to do that, right? So the first one, it could be the D in Disney, or the N in Netflix. So we know that basically 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So that'll get to the end of Disney, and then we're on the I of Netflix, right? So then what we want to make sure, and we could do all C's here, but just to illustrate a point, so this C, basically a C means allow any character or a space, right? So what that means is that 7th one is going to be the X of Netflix, or it's going to be the space in the word Disney, right? So that's cool, but then we need to realize that Netflix doesn't have anything more, right? So basically we need to get to that 11. So we're on 7, right? So we need to go 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So then it says try it, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to see what happens. So we type in Netflix, that's going to work fine. And we have a bunch of spaces. What about Disney Plus? Also looks pretty good, right? So that's basically going to be our input mask. And then this is to do with saving. I think it's a different topic that. Anyway, we press finish, and you can see it puts it in the input mask like that. So we go back here. You can see that basically it's converted everything into what we want there. So that's basically a way that you could specify an input mask. There's some other ways to do it as well. Like, for instance, you don't necessarily even need to go into... I wonder if you can actually just change this completely. So you could do like 3 of those, right? So now let's see what happens when we go back to the data sheet here. You can see it's basically put it back to how it was before. But if I try and type in anything, which is too long, you see it only wants that, right? So it would only basically work if I typed in like that, and then it would convert it over there. What other ways can we do sort of things like this? Let's just get rid of that. Save. Just put that back. Now, other things we could do is something to do with a validation rule. And this is the format of the validation rule, right? So for instance, if we just wanted it to be a certain length, right, what we'd have to do is we'd say, what is our string? Well, the string is called, the field name is service, right? And we want it to be less than 4 letters long, basically 3 letters long, right? What I just did. That's another way that we could do it. Instead of an input mask, have a validation rule, right? All right, so then we can go back to the data sheet. Okay, a few more clicks, but basically you get the same sort of thing. Type in something too long. One of the values read by the validation rule. Well, you can also do, so for instance, if I did that, then it would work. But what you could also do here is in the design view, let's see, only 3 letters are allowed. Let's see how that works. All right, so we're going to type in 4 letters. And then you can see it actually gives you a different error message as well, which is pretty cool. All right, what about numbers then? So you remember that when I did this, it's basically it wasn't happy with this, right? So what we could do is you could just convert it to a text, just so we can actually get it to do something, right? Now the input mask, that would be different, right? Because basically, if we look at the actual numbers here, Number is 27.416. So basically what we're looking at is three numbers after the decimal point, and then potentially either 2 or 1 number before, right? So basically there's two different things that we have. Basically, a decimal point, and we've got 0, which is requires a number, and 9 is allows a number, right? So the way that we could do this is basically looking at the input mask. So like I say, 0 requires a number and 9 is allows. So if we do something like 9 and then 0, basically we're saying that the leftmost slot could be a number, but it doesn't have to be there. But the one right before this decimal point here has to be, and we're going to do 3 over here. So we could do something like that, right? So that would actually we could retain all the information using this input mask here. So if we go back in here, so we want 27.416. You can see if I type this in, and you can actually see now the slots, right? So if it was, for instance, we couldn't do anything more, right? It's not letting me do any more. If I try and do something, it's going to not be happy with it. And for this one, 6.141, so we basically have to do a space and then 6.141. You could obviously do 06.141 as well, but it depends how you want to do it. But basically, that's a way that you can actually put in with different units there. And I'm sure as we go further, we'll look at ways, because obviously that formatting doesn't look quite correct. But yeah, so there's just a few things with input masks and validation rules. So thanks for watching.